Marcus Williams was 34 years old, and until that Tuesday night in March 2026, he thought he'd figured out manhood. He hadn't worked in 2 years, not because he couldn't find a job, because his wife told him he didn't need one. Amara Okafor was a petroleum engineer pulling down $340,000 annually, closing oil refinery deals across 2 continents. She bought the house in 2019, $1.2 million. Her name on the deed. Alone. She bought both cars, a Mercedes GLE and a Tesla Model X, registered under Okafor Holdings LLC. Marcus was listed as an authorized driver. There's a difference. For 7 years, Marcus had been comfortable. More than comfortable. He'd spent the last 6 months reading books about masculine evolution and high-value men. He'd joined an empowerment group, paid $4,200 on a credit card for a retreat in Sedona where men sat in circles and talked about reclaiming their power. Then he met Zara on Instagram. 24 years old, honey skin, long braids. She commented on his posts about masculine energy. They talked for 4 months, and 3 weeks ago, while Amara was in Houston closing a deal that would set them up for life, Marcus invited Zara to move in. Not into his house, into Amara's house. When Amara came home early, 2 weeks early, wanting to surprise him, she found another woman in her kitchen, wearing her silk robe, cooking in her Le Creuset pot. Marcus didn't panic. He'd rehearsed this. He was ready to explain his truth, ready to tell Amara that he'd been shrinking himself for years and he wasn't going to apologize for evolving. What Marcus didn't know, what he was about to learn in the most devastating 48 hours of his life, was that evolution doesn't mean what he thought it meant. And the woman he'd been calling his dependent had just made one phone call to a lawyer who doesn't negotiate. Subscribe, because what happens next is a masterclass in consequences. Amara hadn't told Marcus she was coming home early. She wanted it to be a surprise. 3 months in Houston, closing the oil refinery deal that would set them up for life, and she'd shaved off 2 weeks just to see his face light up when she walked through the door. She imagined it the whole flight back, him running to her, arms wide, that grin he used to give her when they first met. But when she pulled up to the house at 9 p.m., the lights were on in a way that felt wrong. Too many lights. Music playing. Not his usual gospel, something smoother, jazzier. She grabbed her suitcase from the trunk and walked to the front door. Her key still worked. The lock clicked. She pushed the door open. The scent hit her first. Perfume, not hers. Something floral and cheap, the kind sold in malls by girls with sample, written on their name tags. Then she heard laughter, a woman's laughter, high-pitched, giggly. Young. Amara set her suitcase down slowly. She didn't call out. She walked toward the kitchen, and there she was. A woman, mid-20s, skin like honey. Hair in long braids that swung when she moved. Wearing Amara's silk robe, the one Marcus bought her for their 5th anniversary, and standing barefoot in Amara's kitchen, stirring something in Amara's Le Creuset pot. The woman didn't notice her at first. She was too busy humming along to the music. Then she turned and froze. The wooden spoon clattered into the pot. Oh my God. Marcus appeared from the hallway, towel around his neck, fresh out of the shower. He saw Amara, and his face did something she'd never seen before. It didn't go pale, it went calm, like he'd been expecting this. "Babe," he said. One word, casual, like she'd just walked in from the grocery store. Amara didn't move. She just stared at the woman in her robe. Marcus stepped forward, hands up like he was calming a wild animal. "Okay, I know this looks bad, but just let me explain." Amara's voice came out flat. "Explain." Marcus exhaled, ran a hand over his face. "Her name is Zara. She's staying here for a bit." "Staying here?" "Yeah. Look, I didn't plan this. It just happened. And I know you're going to be upset, but if you just hear me out." "How long?" Marcus blinked. "What?" "How long has she been staying here?" He hesitated. 3 weeks. Amara's jaw tightened, but she didn't raise her voice. She didn't scream. She just looked at Zara, then at Marcus, then at the pot on the stove. "You're cooking in my Le Creuset." Zara's eyes went wide, like she just realized how bad this looked. Oh, Marcus said you wouldn't mind. I'm making jollof, his favorite. Amara's eyes flicked back to Marcus. He looked almost defensive now, like he was gearing up for a fight he'd already rehearsed in his head. Babe, he said softer, I know this is a lot, but if you just sit down, we can talk. I can explain everything. This isn't what you think. Amara stood there for 5 full seconds. Then she picked up her suitcase. I'm going to the guest room. Marcus blinked. Wait, you're staying. For now. She walked past them both, down the hallway, and shut the door. What Marcus didn't know, what Zara definitely didn't know, was that the house deed had one name on it. Amara Okafor, not Marcus Williams. The 2 cars in the driveway, both titled under her LLC. The joint account Marcus thought he had access to. Amara was the primary. He was authorized. There's a difference. Marcus had been reading books about being a king. But kings build castles. Marcus had just moved into one. Amara didn't leave the next morning. She stayed, not because she was weak, but because she needed to see something. She'd spent 10 years building oil pipelines across 2 continents. She knew how to survey a site before demolition. So she watched. Amara came out of the guest room at 10 a.m. Zara was in the living room, rearranging the throw pillows. She looked up when Amara walked in, smiled like they were old friends. Morning, I hope you don't mind. I just thought the space needed a more warm energy. Marcus agrees. Amara said nothing. She walked to the kitchen, poured herself coffee, and sat at the island. Marcus walked in a minute later, kissed Zara on the forehead, then looked at Amara. Morning, babe. Sleep okay? Fine. He scratched the back of his neck, looked uncomfortable. So, I was thinking, maybe tonight the 3 of us could sit down and just talk, like adults. I really think if you heard me out, you'd understand. Understand what? Marcus perked up, like she'd just given him an opening. Just everything. Where I'm coming from, what I've been going through. Amara took a sip of her coffee. Where did you meet Zara? Marcus hesitated. Zara answered for him. Instagram. She said it brightly, like it was a fun story. I saw his comment on a post about masculine energy, and we just connected, you know? Amara set her mug down. How long have you been talking? 4 months, Zara said. Amara looked at Marcus. 4 months. He shifted his weight. Babe, I didn't plan this. It just happened. And I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react like this. I wanted to figure out how to explain it first. I thought if I just showed you… Showed me what? That it's working. That I'm happy. Amara nodded slowly. You're happy. Yeah, I am. She stood up, grabbed her laptop from the counter, and went back to the guest room. Marcus stood there, staring at the door. Zara walked over, touched his arm. She'll come around, she said softly. She just needs time to process. Marcus nodded, but he didn't look convinced. That evening, Zara cooked again. She made Marcus's favorite, fried plantains, jollof rice, grilled chicken. She set the table, 3 plates. Amara came out when called. She sat down without a word. Zara served Marcus first, piled his plate high, set it in front of him with a smile. There you go, baby. Then she served herself. Then, almost as an afterthought, she looked at Amara. Oh, do you want some? Amara's face didn't move. I'm good. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Zara, come on. Amara's a guest. Zara laughed lightly. She's not a guest, Marcus. She's family, right? She looked at Amara like she was waiting for confirmation. Amara pulled out her phone, started typing. Marcus frowned. Who are you texting? My lawyer. The table went quiet. Marcus laughed nervously. Your lawyer? Babe, that's dramatic. We're just having dinner. We're talking. There's no need to bring lawyers into this. Amara didn't look up. I know. Zara leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. Marcus, maybe we should give her some space. This is clearly overwhelming for her. Marcus nodded quickly. Yeah, you're right. He looked at Amara. Babe, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm just trying to live in my truth, you know? Amara finally looked up. Your truth. Yeah, she stood. Enjoy your dinner. She went back to the guest room. Amara sat on the edge of the bed staring at her phone. She opened her contacts, scrolled to Marcus's name. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She almost pressed it. Almost. Then she scrolled past it. Found another name. Thandiwe Okoro. She pressed call. It rang 3 times. Amara, it's late. Thandiwe's voice was sharp, efficient. She didn't do small talk. I need you to do something. What? Separate the joint account, move everything into my personal holdings, and pull the property records for the house. There was a pause. Then Thandiwe's voice dropped, quieter but colder. He cheated. Worse, Amara said. He's a philosopher now. Thandiwe laughed, low and humorless. Do you want the house or his dignity? Amara didn't hesitate. Both. I'll have the paperwork ready by Friday. Amara hung up. She sat there for a long time, staring at the wall. Then she opened her photos, scrolled back, found one from their honeymoon. Marcus had his arm around her, both of them laughing, sun setting behind them. She stared at it. Then she closed the app, put the phone down, and cried. Not loud, not hysterical, just quiet, exhausted tears that she didn't bother wiping away. She didn't sleep that night. Marcus cornered her in the hallway the next morning. Okay, I get it. You're mad. But you're not even trying to understand. Amara stopped, turned to face him. Understand what? This. He gestured around, like the house could explain it for him. Me, what I've been going through. I've spent the last 6 months trying to figure myself out, Amara. I've been learning, growing. And I realized something. What? That I've been shrinking myself, for years. I've been pretending I don't have needs, that I don't need more than what you're giving me. And it's been killing me. Amara crossed her arms. So you brought another woman into the house I bought. Marcus flinched. See? You always do that. Do what? Throw money in my face, like that's the only thing that matters, like that makes you better than me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. His voice cracked. You've been doing it for years, Amara. Every time you send money, every time you pay for something without asking me, every time you make a decision like I'm not even here, you treat me like I'm your dependent. Amara's jaw tightened. You are dependent, Marcus. You haven't worked in 2 years. Because you told me to quit. And I told you to start a business. I have been. I've been researching. I've been planning. For 2 years. Silence. Marcus looked away. It takes time. Amara nodded. Right. She walked past him. Marcus grabbed her arm. Not hard, but firm. Don't walk away from me. Amara looked down at his hand, then at his face. Her voice dropped to ice. Let go. He did. She kept walking. Marcus wasn't evil. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who felt small. And 6 months ago, he'd found something that made him feel big. It started with a video. A guy in a suit, sitting in a leather chair, talking about how men had been conditioned to suppress their nature. Marcus watched it on his phone while Amara was on a work call in the next room. She was handling a crisis. Decisive. Sharp. Telling someone on the other end exactly what to do and how to do it. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her. She was good at this, better than him at anything he'd ever done, and he hated that he resented it. So he went back to the video, and then another, and another. They told him he wasn't broken, he was just awake. Amara wasn't perfect either. She'd made a vow when she was 19, standing in the kitchen of her childhood home, watching her mother beg her father for grocery money. She'd sworn to herself, I will never need a man. And she'd kept that vow, so completely that she forgot dependency has 2 faces. Marcus needed her money. But what did she need from him? She'd stopped asking that question years ago. They were both starving, just in different ways, but only one of them had turned starvation into betrayal. On the 4th day, Amara came out of the guest room at 7 a.m. Zara was still asleep. Marcus was in the kitchen making coffee. Amara sat down at the table. We need to talk. Marcus turned, and for a second his face lit up. Hopeful. Yeah. Yes. I've been waiting for you to say that. He sat down across from her. Amara folded her hands on the table. I'm going to ask you one question, and your answer will decide everything. Marcus leaned forward. Okay. Amara's voice was calm, surgical. Do you want to fix this marriage, or do you want to prove you're right? Marcus blinked. What? It's a simple question, Marcus. Do you want me, or do you want to win the argument? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. That's not fair. You're making it sound like I have to choose between being myself and being with you. You do. No. He shook his head. No, that's exactly the problem, Amara. You're trying to control me. You're trying to make me shrink again. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not apologizing for evolving. Amara stared at him. Evolving. Yes. I'm not the same man you married. I see things clearly now. And if you can't accept that, if you can't accept that I need more than what you're giving, then maybe we're just not compatible anymore. The words hung in the air. Amara didn't blink. So that's your answer. I'm not choosing Amara. I'm just saying, that's your answer. Footsteps behind them. Zara appeared in the doorway wearing Marcus's t-shirt. She looked at Amara, then at Marcus. Everything okay? Marcus exhaled. Yeah, we're just talking. Zara walked over, stood behind Marcus, put her hand on his shoulder. Marcus, you don't have to explain yourself to her. You've done nothing wrong. You've been honest. You've been brave. She just needs time to see that. She looked at Amara. You've been so focused on work that you forgot what it means to be a wife. Marcus needed support. He needed love. And you weren't here to give it. Amara's face remained perfectly still. She stood, looked at Marcus one last time. Okay. Marcus frowned. Okay what? You've made your choice. She walked to the guest room, grabbed her laptop bag, and headed for the door. Marcus followed her. Wait, where are you going? A hotel. Amara, don't be dramatic. She stopped, turned, looked him dead in the eye. I gave you a way out, Marcus. You chose the philosophy. She opened the door, stepped outside. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her car pull away. Zara came up behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist. She'll come around, Zara whispered. They always do. Marcus nodded. But something in his chest felt wrong. Amara didn't go to a hotel. She went to Thandiwe's office. And by 6 p.m. that evening, every document was signed. Every account separated, every title transferred. Marcus had 48 hours left in the kingdom. He just didn't know it yet. Marcus woke up on the 5th day feeling lighter. Amara hadn't called, hadn't texted. He'd half expected her to come crawling back by now, ready to talk things through like she always did after their fights. But nothing, just silence. He rolled over. Zara was already awake, scrolling on her phone. Morning, King, she said, kissing his cheek. Marcus smiled. Morning. She sat up, stretched. I was thinking, since Amara's gone, maybe we should redecorate the master bedroom. Make it ours, you know? Marcus hesitated. I mean, she's still my wife, legally. Zara laughed. For now, but she'll come around or she won't. Either way, you deserve to be comfortable in your own home. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, you're right. He got up, threw on a t-shirt and walked to the kitchen. The coffee maker was already brewing. He poured himself a cup, leaned against the counter and checked his phone. 3 missed calls, all from a number he didn't recognize. He frowned, then the doorbell rang. Marcus opened the door. 2 people stood on his porch. A woman in a charcoal grey suit, late 40s, with silver-rimmed glasses and a leather briefcase. And a man in a navy blazer, younger, holding a tablet. The woman extended her hand. Mr. Williams, I'm Thandiwe Okoro. I represent your wife. Marcus's stomach dropped. He didn't shake her hand. My lawyer? Amara sent her lawyer? I'm here in a professional capacity, yes. Marcus laughed nervously. Okay, this is insane. We don't need lawyers. We just need to talk. Mr. Williams, Thandiwe said, her voice sharp as a blade. May we come in? Marcus looked back. Zara was standing in the hallway, wrapped in a towel. Who is it? Amara's lawyer. Zara's face went pale. Thandiwe didn't wait for an invitation. She stepped inside. The man followed. Marcus backed up, hands raised. Whoa, hold on, you can't just… Thandiwe set her briefcase on the kitchen island, clicked it open, pulled out a stack of documents. Mr. Williams, this is a courtesy visit. My client wanted to ensure you were informed in person rather than by mail. Marcus's throat went dry. Informed of what? Thandiwe nodded to the man in the blazer. He stepped forward, tablet in hand. Mr. Williams, my name is Chidi Nwosu. I'm a financial advisor contracted by Mrs. Okafor. As of 9 a.m. this morning, all joint accounts previously accessible to you have been legally separated. Mrs. Okafor is now the sole account holder. Marcus blinked. Wait. What? Chidi swiped on the tablet. Additionally, I'm here to inform you that the property deed for this residence lists Mrs. Amara Okafor as the sole title holder. You are not a co-owner. You are a resident guest. The room tilted. Marcus grabbed the edge of the counter. That's not… She wouldn't… Thandiwe's voice cut through. Both vehicles in the driveway are registered under Mrs. Okafor's LLC. You were listed as an authorized driver. That authorization has been revoked as of this morning. Marcus's coffee mug slipped from his hand. It hit the floor, shattered. No one moved. The only sound was the faint drip of spilled coffee hitting tile. Zara stood frozen in the hallway. Marcus stared at the broken mug. Thandiwe adjusted her glasses. Mr. Williams, you have 48 hours to vacate the premises. Any personal belongings not removed by that time will be considered abandoned property. Marcus's voice came out strangled. You can't do this. This is my home. I've lived here for 7 years. You've resided here for 7 years, Thandiwe corrected, but you have no legal claim to ownership. Mrs. Okafor purchased this property in 2019 using funds from her personal accounts. Your name does not appear on the deed, the mortgage, or the title insurance. Marcus looked at Zara. She looked like she might be sick. He turned back to Thandiwe. Where is she? Where's Amara? My client is unavailable. I need to talk to her. My client has made her position clear. Thandiwe reached into her briefcase, pulled out another document, slid it across the counter. This is a restraining order, temporary, pending a hearing. You are not to contact Mrs. Okafor by phone, email, text, or social media. You are not to approach her place of business. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest. Marcus's knees buckled. He grabbed the counter to stay upright. Zara finally found her voice. Wait, who the hell are you people? You can't just come in here and… Thandiwe turned to her, slowly. And you are? Zara straightened. I'm Marcus's partner. His partner? Yes. Thandiwe's expression didn't change. Ms. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Zara. Ms. Zara, you are currently trespassing on private property. You have 30 minutes to gather your belongings and leave. After that, I will contact local law enforcement. Zara's mouth fell open. Trespassing. I live here. You are a guest of Mr. Williams, who himself is a guest of Mrs. Okafor. As the property owner, Mrs. Okafor has the legal right to revoke that guest status at any time. Zara looked at Marcus. Marcus said nothing. He couldn't. His brain had stopped working. Thandiwe closed her briefcase. Mr. Williams, I suggest you use the next 48 hours wisely. Find temporary housing, secure your belongings, and consider retaining legal counsel. She walked toward the door. Chidi followed. She paused at the threshold, turned back. One more thing. Marcus looked up. Thandiwe's voice dropped to a whisper. Mrs. Okafor asked me to tell you something. Marcus's heart pounded. She said, a king doesn't live in someone else's castle. The door closed. Marcus stood there, staring at the space where they'd been. His mouth opened. No sound came out. His legs gave out. He slid down the counter, sat on the floor, surrounded by shattered ceramic and spilled coffee. Zara rushed over. Marcus, get up. We need to figure this out. She took everything. His voice was barely a whisper. What? She took everything. Zara grabbed his shoulders. Okay, so we fight back. We get a lawyer. We… Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. With what money, Zara? She froze. What do you mean? The account, the joint account. She froze it. That's where everything was. You don't have your own account. Marcus laughed. It came out broken. I had $847 last time I checked. Zara's hands dropped. 800? She paid for everything. The bills, the groceries, the cars, everything. Zara stood up, backed away. So what are you saying? That you're broke? Marcus didn't answer. Zara's voice went shrill. Marcus, are you telling me you don't have any money? I have money. It's just, it was in the joint account. I thought it was ours. Zara stared at him, then at the house, then back at him. You told me you were successful. I am. You told me you owned this place. I never said that. You let me believe it. Her voice cracked. You let me think you were a provider, that you were a man. Marcus flinched. Zara, please, I quit my job for you. Silence. Marcus blinked. What? I quit my job 3 weeks ago because you said I didn't need to work anymore. You said you'd take care of me. Marcus's face went white. Zara grabbed her phone. I need to call my landlord. I need to see if my apartment's still available. Zara, wait. She didn't wait. She ran to the bedroom, slammed the door. Marcus sat on the floor, alone. In the span of 15 minutes, Marcus Williams had shrunk. Not metaphorically, literally. His shoulders caved in, his spine curved. He looked smaller, like gravity had increased just for him. Zara left that afternoon. She packed 2 suitcases, didn't say goodbye, just called an Uber and walked out the door. Marcus watched from the window. She didn't look back. Marcus spent the next day taking stock. He went through every drawer, every closet, every account. Bank account balance, $847.23. Credit cards, 3 cards, all joint accounts under Amara's name, all cancelled. Vehicles, 2 cars in the driveway, both registered to Okafor Holdings, LLC. He couldn't legally drive either one. Personal assets, clothes, books, a laptop 3 years old, a phone still on Amara's family plan. Debts, $4,200 on a personal credit card he'd opened 6 months ago to buy the books and pay for the men's empowerment retreat in Sedona. He sat on the couch, opened his banking app, stared at the number. $847. That's what 7 years of marriage had left him. Marcus's phone rang. His mother. He almost didn't answer, but he knew she'd keep calling. Hello? Marcus Adeyemi Williams. Her voice could have cut glass. Hi, Mama. Don't hi, Mama me. I just got off the phone with Amara's mother. Marcus closed his eyes. Mama, I can explain. Explain what? That you brought a girl into the house your wife bought? That you've been sitting on your behind for 2 years while that woman worked herself to the bone for you? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Marcus? Because from where I'm standing, you look like a fool. I was trying to build something. I was trying to find myself. Find yourself? You're 34 years old. You think manhood is something you find in a book? Marcus's throat tightened. You don't understand. I understand that you had a wife who loved you, who provided for you, who gave you everything. And you threw it away for a philosophy. She said the word like it tasted rotten. Mama, your father is ashamed. I'm ashamed. And you should be ashamed. The line went dead. Marcus sat there, phone in his hand, staring at nothing. Marcus opened the group chat, the one with the other men from the empowerment circle. He typed, need advice. Wife kicked me out, took everything. What do I do? He waited. 3 dots appeared. Then, bro, you signed a prenup. No. Was the house in your name? No. Cars. Hers. Silence. Then, damn. That's rough, bro. You got a lawyer? Can't afford one. More silence. Then Khalid sent a link. Legal aid services. That was it. No strategy, no brotherhood. Just a link. Marcus exited the chat. Marcus moved into his cousin Trevor's basement. Trevor didn't ask questions, just helped him carry his boxes down the stairs. The basement smelled like mildew and old carpet. There was a futon, a TV from 2015, a mini fridge that hummed too loud. Trevor clapped him on the shoulder. You good, man? Marcus nodded. Yeah. Amara's a good woman, cuz. Whatever happened, you should fix it. Marcus didn't respond. Trevor left. Marcus sat on the futon, pulled out his phone, scrolled through Instagram. The algorithm still fed him the same content. Reclaim your masculine power. Stop apologizing for your nature. A high-value man doesn't settle. He stared at the videos, the same videos that had made him feel like a god 6 months ago. Now they just sounded hollow. Marcus opened his credit card statement. $4,200 balance. Minimum payment due, $180. He checked his bank account, $214. He paid the minimum. Bought ramen with the rest. Marcus applied to 23 jobs. Got 2 interviews. Both asked the same question. What have you been doing for the past 2 years? He tried to explain. I was supporting my wife's career, managing the household. They smiled. Politely, he didn't get callbacks. Marcus was scrolling late one night. He saw a video, same guy, same smirk. A real man builds his empire. He doesn't live in someone else's. Marcus paused the video, replayed it. He doesn't live in someone else's. He looked around the basement, at the futon, the cracked concrete walls, the mini fridge. He'd been living in Amara's empire for 7 years, and he'd called it evolution. Financial losses, joint account access, $340,000 moved to Amara's personal holdings. Credit score dropped 112 points in 90 days due to missed payments. Vehicle access, $85,000 in combined car value, both repossessed. Housing, $1.2 million property, 0 ownership stake. Social losses, Zara left after 6 days. Mother refused to speak to him for 3 months. Father sent 1 text. Disappointed. Empowerment group ghosted him when they found out he was broke. Friends. Most were Amara's friends first. They chose her. Psychological losses. The books didn't feel true anymore. The podcasts sounded like scams. The philosophy felt like a cage he'd built himself. Marcus sat in that basement for 4 months, and every night he'd pull out his phone, scroll to his photos, find the one from their wedding day, Amara in her dress, him in his tux, both of them smiling, back when he still believed love was enough. Before he started believing he deserved more, he opened the folder where he'd saved all the philosophy content, screenshots, quotes, lecture notes. He scrolled through them, and for the first time, he saw them for what they were, not wisdom. Just words, words that had convinced him he was a king. While he sat in someone else's castle, he stared at the wedding picture. Amara's smile. He'd traded that smile for a theory, and now all he had was a theory. And a futon. And a debt he couldn't pay. He closed his eyes, whispered into the dark, "I'm sorry." But Amara wasn't there to hear it. 6 months later, Amara was in London, closing a deal with a UK-based energy firm. She wore a black suit. Hair pulled back, confident, not because she'd won, but because she'd stopped funding a delusion. Her assistant knocked on the hotel room door. "Ms. Okafor, your 8 a.m. is here." "Thank you." She looked at herself in the mirror. No ring, no regret. Just clarity. She'd learned something her mother never did. You can't save someone who's drowning if they keep pulling you under. Marcus was still in Trevor's basement. He'd gotten a job, customer service, $17 an hour. It wasn't much, but it was his. He came home one night, sat on the futon, pulled out his phone. He searched the kitchen drawer for the spare card. Gone. He checked the glove compartment in his mind. Gone. He logged into the bank app. Access denied. He stood in the middle of that basement, and for the first time in 7 years, he had no idea what to do next. He opened his photos one last time, found the wedding picture, stared at it, then closed it. He didn't open it again. Marcus learned too late. You can't be a king in someone else's kingdom. You can't preach abundance while living off dependency. You can't call it evolution when it's just entitlement with a better vocabulary. He'd studied biology. He'd studied philosophy, he'd studied evolutionary psychology, but he'd forgotten the most basic rule. Adaptation isn't about what you believe, it's about what you survive. And Marcus didn't survive, he just existed, in a basement, with a philosophy that couldn't pay rent. And if you made it this far, hit subscribe. We're almost at 500 subscribers, and every single one of you is helping us build something real. See you in the next one. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is just beginning.